on, LAFB family? Before we get to the show, got to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper. The number one sports app right now, and not just for season-long fantasy. They have daily game updates. They have a live chat that you can chat with other users. Plus, my favorite part is the daily fantasy feature, which is similar to a pick'em. You just choose 2 or more players across any sport. Choose more or less in whatever sport that may be. So if it's football, more or less touchdowns. For Jaden Mayava, if it's Makai Lemon, more or less receptions. If you're looking at the Dodgers, more or less home runs for Shohei Ohtani. Really easy, and you can win real money. Right now, when you go and make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code. You see it right there on the screen, USC LAFB. That's going to give you a match deposit bonus up to $100. You put in $100 to play with, you're going to get $100 free on top of that. You can put in 10, you get 10 free. Also, right now, our friends are offering a $20 free entry for any new signups. If you go sign up today, you'll get both those offers. You get $20 right off the bat free to play with. Plus, use that promo code USCLAFB at sign up and you'll get that match bonus as well. Go to the App Store, Google Play, download the Sleeper app today, and tell them that the USC LAFB sent you. Now, let's get on. Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you, as always, for making this a part of your day. It's Wednesday. We're getting closer to this epic evening blackout matchup, USC versus Nebraska. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. Now, 2 years in a row, these two teams have met. I think Nebraska is considered a blue blood. If not, they're right there. I mean, a historic program for sure. And I think this is a fun, budding rivalry between these two programs. It's been a fun week. I think the fan base, you're seeing if you're on social, like, the fan bases are kind of like, it's very different than playing Notre Dame 2 weeks ago, right? Like, you could feel the dislike for each other. This is kind of a respect, like, hey, this is going to be just a fun game. Like, let's just have a good time. And we're seeing this like allegiance almost between USC and Nebraska, which I think is great. I hope this is a game that we can start making kind of a rivalry game between these two programs and whatnot. So I'll be dropping my preview for that game tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to be on campus after practice just in a couple hours here today. We'll hear from defensive coordinator Danton Lynn plus some defensive players. And tomorrow we have our final media presser with Coach Riley over Zoom. So I like to get those just in case we get any tidbits, any injuries, updates and whatnot, and then I'll really do a deep dive preview of this matchup, looking at Dylan Raiola versus Jaden Mayava, the trenches, how Makai Lemon's going to fare against if he's on, say, your right, formerly of USC. So we'll get all into that tomorrow. Wanted to jump on here now because Nebraska just released their recruiting visitor list for this game. 50 or 60 players are going to be attending this blackout game in what is going to be one of the best atmospheres of college football this season. That Memorial Stadium, I told the story about it last episode about how I happened upon it randomly when I was 18 years old on a senior road trip with a buddy of mine. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a historic venue, historic program, and those fans obviously love their Cornhuskers. So it's going to be a dynamic, fun atmosphere for this Trojan team, and recruits are going to be able to see that. Now, I bring this up because, typically I always talk about visitors when, we're at the Coliseum, when we're at home, not necessarily on the road, but USC has a huge opportunity here to, there's some crossover recruits that are either from California or just have been heavily recruited by USC already. So they're kind of getting a 2-for-1 whammy, right? Like those recruits are seeing Nebraska, getting the game day experience, but they're getting to see USC on the road, which I think for some recruits is an important thing, as it should be. Like, how is this team adapting on the road? Everyone that was there 3 weeks ago or whatever it was now against Michigan in the LA Coliseum, I mean, it was an outstanding, not just game, but atmosphere, and all the recruits talked very highly about it. After the Notre Dame game, recruits talked about how still being excited, seeing the growth of the team, feel like they can make an impact. Now they'll have another opportunity, the Trojans that are, to prove yet again that they are improving as a program, and they're doing it on a road against a great opponent with a good record, 6-2, good head coach in Matt Rule, in a dynamic, tough environment. So a few of these guys I wanted to talk about. And let's start with Ahmad Hudson. Now, Ahmad Hudson, out of the state of Louisiana, he is a football and basketball player. He's the number one tight end in the 2027 class per Rivals industry rankings, 5-star tight end. And I think he's the 15th overall player ranked in this class. So a really highly touted tight end. Obviously, we know the crossover between basketball and tight ends. We've seen a lot of good ones come through collegiately and obviously have success in the NFL as well when you just look at some of those Hall of Fame tight ends that have played both basketball and the tight end position. So Hudson is a guy that USC has been recruiting. And while he has obviously ties to Nebraska, hence why he's visiting, obviously LSU is a big name because he's from Louisiana, but, big opening there with no more Brian Kelly. So that's going to be put on hold while, still getting looked at in the new coaching ranks there. Houston is another program that's been involved in his recruiting. And others, obviously, Texas A&M. I mean, all the big you're the number one tight end. Every program's going to look at you. But USC is way up that list. In that top 5-ish or so. And he told Rivals just recently about USC. Basically it says, so USC, a fourth program that's continued to come on strong with the nation's top 2027 tight end in recent weeks. This is via Rivals. The Trojans are trending as a potential official visit destination for Hudson next offseason before he gives a commitment next July. So, long way to go, 27. And this is a quote from Hudson. They have been talking to me a lot more about how me and Mark Bowman could be something special as two tight ends together and how our different play styles would kill defensive coordinators trying to scheme for us. I mean, we've seen this program this year utilize the 2 tight end and 12 personnel sets a lot more than we have seen yet in the Lincoln Riley era here at USC. And obviously Lake McCree has been, I think he's been great. I think he's a really underrated tight end. I think he's a guy that's going to end up going to the NFL, making a roster and really turning some heads. Walker Lyons is obviously the face of the room moving forward. Not this year. No disrespect to Lake McCree, but Walker Lyons has proven that recruiting status, and even after the year off, has now caught up to speed. And, he's a guy that is going to lead this room now for, next year and beyond once Lake McCree is off to the NFL. And we know about Mark Bowman and that excitement, but adding this Hudson kid is really intriguing because then, that's in 27. So then, Bowman will be a sophomore at that point or a redshirt freshman if he doesn't play at all next year. And then, you have 2 blue chip 5-star tight ends that, just seeing in this offense has to get you excited. So he's there to visit Nebraska, but obviously USC is ramping up the recruiting. So while it is a Nebraska visit, USC has an opportunity to really position themselves nicely in that continued recruitment. Another player that's going to be there, Elijah Harmon. Many of you have heard the name before. Local kid from right here in Inglewood, the 15th ranked defensive lineman in the class. Another really talented kid. He has visited USC. How many times has he visited? I think he's been multiple times on campus so far. Yeah, he's visited 6 times unofficially. So USC is certainly, I think, in the driver's seat with Coach Henderson leading the charge there. And so this is one that feels like it's for USC to lose, or unless they decide to move in a different direction. But again, he's there visiting Nebraska. USC will have an opportunity to show him how this team travels, how they're putting to bed narratives about the defensive line after a tough game against Notre Dame. Can they win the trenches in this one and show that development after the bye week? And I think Elijah Harmon is certainly a guy that they're prioritizing right now for this 27 class, which will be a smaller class, remember, but I think he's one to certainly keep your eye on. Aaron Washington, also going to be there. He is modern day. I'm sure many of you who follow these videos or just follow USC recruiting have heard his name. He's the 9th-ranked cornerback in the entire country, having a solid year at modern day, and someone USC has recruited. He's visited before, and will certainly be another opportunity for them to show out on that. And finally, Jalen Hill, 15th-ranked cornerback right here, St. John Bosco, the number 1 high school team in the country. He's having a fantastic season. I think his ranking's going to shoot up, in my opinion, after this season. He's having a really good season for the Bosco Braves, and someone that I expect to be much higher than the 15th ranked corner. And then, like I say, USC, when they recruit, they're recruiting as defensive backs with versatility. They could potentially move all over depending how they develop them once they're here in the program. So those 4 guys is who I'm really looking at. Obviously, there's, like I said, 50 to 60 recruits are going to be there at Memorial Coliseum in Lincoln. So, just an opportunity. Every road game is an opportunity for you to not only prove yourself in this current season, obviously, that's understated, but it's an opportunity to prove yourself for the future about how you are developing, how your young guys are developing. And so while these recruits are there to watch Nebraska, they're watching the game, and they're going to see that Cardinal and red out there, Cardinal and gold, out there against the blackout Nebraska Cornhuskers and how they can be. So big opportunity for Lincoln Riley and his team in the recruiting ranks. And we'll see kind of how it unfolds. And especially if some of these, specifically these 4 guys, schedule any more visits this year before the end of the year, or schedule some official visits, obviously next year into the spring. So just want to get in here quickly, release that. Like I said, we'll be back with our preview tomorrow. It's going to be a fantastic game. I mean, this is going to be one of those great matchups that is sure to produce some fireworks. So thank you all for hanging out with me. As always, bye now.